Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do just a quick review and comparison of the new bird-themed Colourpop palettes that recently launched at Ulta. These are exclusive to Ulta, so you won't be able to find them on the Colourpop website. Each one is $12 and they all contain 9 shades. They do come in different packaging than their regular 9-pan palettes. These are actually cardboard versus plastic and they don't have a mirror. I actually personally like these better as I feel like they're a little bit slimmer and more eco-friendly as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at each palette, and I'll be showing you dupes for these within Colourpop's own range, as well as a few from outside brands. I was really surprised at the number of dupe shades I found just in my own Colourpop collection, but honestly, with the amount of new releases they have coming out, there's bound to be some crossover at this point. I think that's one reason why I feel like they should slow down a little bit, because they're going to exhaust all of the possibilities. There are only so many color combinations that go together, and it's really starting to get somewhat redundant. I would really hate to see an awesome brand like Colourpop fizzle out just because everybody starts feeling like they're releasing the same things over and over again, just in different packaging. So, all right, rant over. Let's go ahead and move on to the first palette, which is Night Owl. This one is definitely my favorite of the three. It's such a perfect neutral palette with those shades of bronze and copper and the yellowy caramel browns that remind me of the new Naked Honey palette. So more on that in just a second, but first let's take a look at swatches of just the palette by itself. I actually created these feather swatches for my Instagram page and I love how they came out, so I thought I'd just use them in the video because they totally fit the theme. So anyway, I just love these tones. They're warm but soft and muted at the same time. I think this one is just perfect if you love those neutral tones like I do. So now let's go ahead and look at some similar palettes, starting with the one I got the most requests for so far, and this is the new Naked Honey palette. I do see a lot of similarity between these two just looking at the palettes side by side. The browns in the Night Owl palette definitely have that honey-like yellowy undertone to them, and even though it does look like there would be matching shades in these two palettes, when you look at them swatched, there actually aren't that many exact dupes in here. It almost looks like the two sets of swatches together look like they could make one big palette. They're complementary and they have the same sort of vibe, but yet no exact dupe shades. Another palette I instantly thought of when I saw the Night Owl was the Juvia's Place Warrior palette. This one might be a little bit closer than the Naked Honey. Not every shade is the same, but several of them matched up pretty well. Also, I mean, Colourpop's formula is awesome, but at the same time, you can almost see how rich the Juvia's shadows are when you look at the swatches. The shimmer shades almost have a little bit more depth to them or something. It's amazing. I love Juvia's shadows so much. So then when it comes to Colourpop palettes, I Think I Love You, which has been discontinued, was also at the top of my list to swatch Night Owl next to because it has those same warm neutral shades. The main difference I see looking at them side by side is the bright yellow and the black in I Think I Love You. Looking at the swatches, there are a few shades that look identical while others are close but not exact. Looking at the swatches from the left, I think the second, third, then the 6th and the 8th shades appear to be pretty much the exact same shadows. So I actually found that quite interesting and wonder if these are actually the exact same shadows just in another palette. So then I also wanted to compare it to Double Entendre, which is another neutral Colourpop palette, and it's actually in the exact same packaging as I Think I Love You. This one isn't quite as warm as I Think I Love You, but again, I was able to find a few shades in here that are spot on with Night Owl, especially that matte ivory shade all the way to the right-hand side of the screen, and then the 3 shades all the way to the left. It's really amazing how similar they are. And when it comes to the Night Owl palette, I'm sure there are plenty more dupes out there. Most warm neutral palettes will have very similar shades to these, so I think out of the 3, this one is probably the least unique. So now let's take a look at Bird of Paradise. This one has really pretty corals, pinks, terracottas, and golds, and this one would be my second favorite after Night Owl. It's really warm toned, and even though it looks summery in the packaging, the swatches actually make it look deeper and richer, almost more like fall leaf type colors. This is a great example of how packaging can alter the way that we see shadows, and the comparisons are going to be a perfect example of that. So when I first saw this palette, I thought of the Sweet Talk palette, which was a spring release, and looking at them side by side, I thought I was seeing a lot of dupe shades, but once they were swatched out, I realized that most of the shades were actually kind of different from each other. So I think this might have been just the pink packaging throwing me off. They are definitely similar in tone with the peaches and the corals, but Sweet Talk is definitely lighter overall. Also, when I had posted these swatches on Instagram, I got a few requests to swatch this against Yes Please, and I thought, what? Like, they're nothing alike. But then again, it all comes down to packaging. These palettes are nearly identical. The biggest difference are the shades on the far left and the far right-hand side of your screen, but pretty much everything in the middle is spot on. I never would have guessed by looking at the packaging that these would be so similar, so that one was kind of crazy to me. Another one I wanted to swatch this next to is the new Baby Got Peach palette. It looked lighter just looking at the two palettes side by side, but I thought I saw a few similar shades. As it turns out, there are a couple that are identical. The one all the way to the right is super close. Also, the third and fourth shades from the right are also pretty spot on. Then we have the fourth shade from the left, that warm reddish brown matte, is almost the same too, but other than those four, I feel like the rest of the palettes are very different. I also got some requests to swatch it next to Soul from Colourpop, and looking at the palettes together, I really didn't see too many similar shades between them, and the same goes for the swatches. This is another case of, I think, two palettes having a similar tone, but not really any exact dupe shades. And then last up is the Lovebirds palette, and this one definitely is my least favorite of the three. Not only am I not a big fan of the way pink eyeshadow looks on me, this one has 3 glitter shades, and not even regular glitter, like big chunky pieces. I was actually shocked at how big some of these are, and if they ever got into your eye, I feel like there would be major problems. This one also has a Super Shock shadow in it, which is kind of sheer and seems like it might be meant to be used as a topper, but otherwise it's a pretty selection of pink and mauve shades if you don't mind the glitters. Unfortunately, I don't have very many pink palettes in my collection since they are not my favorite colors to wear, but I did just quickly want to compare it to the Ooh La La palette from Colourpop. Looking at them side by side, I think the Ooh La La palette seems brighter and it doesn't have any glitter shades in it as well. And then when I swatched them together, I did see some similar tones, but no really exact dupes. Again, I think the Ooh La La palette does seem to be a bit brighter, while Lovebird has slightly more muted pinks. Alright guys, so final thoughts on these are that they aren't super unique, particularly Night Owl and Bird of Paradise. If you own any of the other palettes I showed in this video, you probably don't need these newer ones. I know it's not always easy to shop our stash, especially when there's constantly new and shiny things launching. It seems boring to go back to using an older palette sometimes, but also the way things are packaged can play a huge factor and trick your eye into thinking something is different when it's really more similar than you thought it was. So that's why I do these videos, and I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And also, if you like comparison videos like this, I'll put a playlist here of some other ones that I've done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!